Hey folks, today we're covering Tinto Flavor 37 and this is going to be covering Castile. Pavia does start here by saying this is a tier 1 country, so at the launch of the game there's going to be a whole bunch of content for them, and as we do now know, they are also getting a DLC in the first year of content as well. So I guess there will be some things at launch that you might think, oh, this would have been cool to play, and that is going to come later on in a DLC. And then as always, they're going to start by showing us the description of the realm if you are at country selection, giving you a bit of a background on them and what you might want to get up to in the near future as well. A lot of text here because it is Castile. They've had a bit of history in the recent, I guess, history. But next they're going to show us the visual side of this. So again, you'll see this before you actually start playing as Castile. You can also see it in game, but you'll see it as well on that initial screen, so you can see what kind of country they are. You can see the crown of Castile. Yes, it's not just Castile, they are the crown of Castile, and that's how it shows in game. And you can see here on the right hand side 178 and 24. That's related to how much content this realm has, and Pavia's going to show that in a second as well, so we can see the full list of all the content they have at the start of the game. And you can see everything else here as well. King Alfonso, you can see the primary culture is Castilian, primary religion, obviously Catholicism, 244 locations, 5.5 million people, 155 gold, 54,000 manpower, and 27 ships. I'm sure the ships will go much higher as you play as Castile. And then as always, you can see the breakdown here. Castilian, the largest, obviously a bunch of other people from this region as well here. And then for the religion, primarily Catholicism, but obviously with their recent history, some Sunnism there as well. And then after that, you can see a really nice map of Iberia. You can see Portugal, Castile, Aragon, and you've got a bit of Morocco as well there next to Granada. They're going to show us another map here, slightly more zoomed in so you can see the terrain, how the map looks. I will say the map looks really good in this screenshot. Maybe they've made some improvements since the last screenshots they showed us, but it looks really nice here. And then after that, they're going to show us another even more zoomed in version of it. And again, I think the map's actually looking quite nice now. I do like the fact that the forts, they look a little bit more integrated into the map now. They looked a little bit weird before where they stood out a lot from everything else. But it looks like, I don't know if it's like the shading or the colors they've used, but they kind of merge into the cities a little bit more than they used to do. But again, let me know what you think about the maps. I think this is actually starting to look really nice. Definitely improvements over the more recent maps they've showed us. And then as I said, Pavia's going to show us a breakdown here. He says that some people kind of expressed the opinion that the game looked like it wouldn't have much content at launch, which is kind of wild. But I guess a lot of people don't read the dev diaries, just saw the announcement and thought, wow, there's not a lot of content here. You're announcing DLC already. But as you can see, I'll put all these on the screen at the moment. This is all the unique content they've got. Well, some of it isn't unique, I suppose. Some of it is shared around different things. So you can see country bonuses, Castilian, Iberian, Catholicism, Christianity, monarchy, settled country. And then those numbers on the right-hand side is how much content is linked to those things. So all monarchies will have that 42 content, or for the most part they will. Obviously, Catholic countries will have the 62, Christianity 10, but with this realm being Castilian, there's 15 bits of content that other realms won't have. And then the country bonus is 24, only this country will have those bonuses. And you can see more about those country bonuses in the next screenshot, so you can see all the advances they have. So again, when you're trying to select a country, you're going to be able to see the content that they will have, down to the exact advances you can unlock later on, the laws, the government reforms. He's going to show that off in a second. So at country selection, you can really choose, like, this country looks cool. Maybe I'll play another country that has a bit more content. And then in the future in DLC, you'll be able to get more content added into this as well. And you can see more advances here. And then the government reforms, the Crown of Castile, they're going to talk about that in a second. And then in the last screenshot, you can see laws, building types, estate privileges, and that will just carry on listing every bit of unique content they have, or at least shared content with other monarchies, other religions, things like that as well. So this is really cool. I love they've added this. I actually would like this for other games that they make as well. Being able to see at country selection what content people have, and then helping you make that decision if you want to play them yet. The next content they're going to show us is that structural content they always do, and the first thing are the estates. You can see the crown, you can see the nobles, the clergy, the burghers, and then the commoners as well. They do have special names here. It is Castile, so they all have special ones, apart from the crown, but it is the crown, so we know what that means anyway. And then that government reform, the Crown of Castile, change policy cost, minus 25%, manpower plus 10%, monthly legitimacy, 0.05, monthly progress towards aristocracy, 0.10. So you're going to be slowly moving towards aristocracy. I'm sure you're already in aristocracy at the start, but this will move you even further that way, or prevent you moving the other way in that scale. The next thing they're going to show us are some estate privileges. The first one here, Caballeros Villanos, definitely how you pronounce it. Population promotion speed plus 10%. Monthly progress towards free subjects, 0.10 in that direction. The borderlands of Castile and Leon have produced in recent centuries a class of knightly cowboys. That is a pretty good way to describe them, I suppose. The next one, I'm not going to try pronounce it. This is population join rebels threshold plus 5%. This actually makes it worse if they have this estate privilege. So you are going to try revoke this, I guess, as soon as you can. And then next they're going to show us some unique buildings for all Iberian countries. So this isn't just for Castile. You can also build these as Portugal, Aragon, and the other realms here as well. But you can see the lieutenancy is the first one. This is noble power plus 33%. Local proximity source though plus 25. So you are empowering the nobles in this location, but you do get more proximity, which means ultimately you might get more out of this location than if you hadn't built this, even empowering the nobles as this will. And then next they're going to show us the Vice Royalty, which is the tier 4, the biggest version of this building you can get. And that is nobles power plus 33%, local proximity score plus 30. So it isn't that much better, to be honest. It's only plus 5 proximity source, but proximity is very important in this game. So that plus 5 probably helps you more than you probably think. And then you will have this maxed out. It is very expensive, but then you'll have this and you could be having a good old time. And then next they're going to show us some of the units here for Castile. They do say, as you can see, this was brought from the dev build and some of the icons are missing. I think this is the third rework of this screen that we've had recently. I think I might like this one the most, although it's hard to tell because it has got that text there instead of the icons. But as you can see, it's got unit statistics, more unit statistics under that, and then the combat performance and movement have been merged into one UI band. I really like that. It makes sense. Makes this card a little bit smaller, and they always usually match anyway. So it was kind of weird, I suppose, that they were separated out before, and I think this does look a lot better. It'll be interesting to see once they have the icons actually showing how this looks as a UI element, but I think this is an improvement. Definitely better than when it was that huge kind of UI element that was ridiculously big. I think this one might be a little bit better. You can see next an advanced. This is the Terrico, and this also unlocks a regular unit of the same name. And you can see that in the next screenshot. Again, the icon's not showing as they say, but you can see the stats here, how good they are, and if you're going to be wanting to build these and have them in your army. They do say here they're not showing any ships today. They're going to show that next week when they talk about Portugal. The next thing they're going to show is all the works of art. I'll just put these on the screen now. Obviously, Castile, a very large country, so there's a lot of works of art here. Going to help you with the cultural side of the game. I mean, a lot of them are just regionally well known, but they do add up. There is a magnum opus in there as well, talking about Mio Cid. I think he's a very historical character, people tell me. And then next they're going to show us some of the advances. So the first one here, I'm not going to try pronounce it. This is available in the Age of Traditions, population migration speed plus 10%, monthly prosperity 0.10. The next one, the Reconquista, army morale plus 15%, Age of Traditions for this one. And obviously based around the Reconquista, your army's better due to all the fighting that happened there, all that kind of stuff that occurred. The next one, the Chronicas Reales. This is available in the Age of Renaissance, Cultural Tradition plus 10%, Monthly Prestige 0.10. The next one is Reform of the Millions, available in the Age of Reformation, Tax Efficiency plus 10%, so you're going to be making more money in the future. Maybe all that silver that you bring in, no repercussions to the inflation of Spain, as we all know historically. The next one is Castilian Pesos. This is available in the Age of Absolutism, Tolerance of the True Faith plus 1, so people who follow your religion are going to like you that little bit more. The next advance is Real Academia Española, definitely pronouncing that correctly. Age of Absolutism, monthly literacy 0.02. It doesn't sound like a lot, but this does add up obviously every month, making your people more literate, which means you get better trade, better outcomes, better research, all these kind of things out of that as well. The next one is the Royal Factories, Age of Revolutions, and this is just improving your factories, making them more efficient so they use less raw goods, and then maybe you could sell those raw goods, or just have more things coming out of your factories so then you could sell those, or keep people happy, whatever you're doing with your manufactured goods. And with that, that is the structural content they're going to show off this week. As we've seen at the very beginning of this dev diary, a lot of content coming. This is just some of that content, and again, they are getting a DLC in the future, so we will get more content when that comes out as well. Next, they're going to go through the events that you can play through as Castile. They do say here they're going to show some mid-game events. That is something that people have talked about. A lot of these dev diaries have shown only early events from the game. These are going to be some mid ones once we get later in the dev diary. And then I did see from next week, they've said they're going to start talking about some of the mid to late game events as well. So that's going to be cool to see what kind of content we get later in the time frame of this game. But anyway, let's get back to Castile. And the first one, as you can see, is the threat of Morocco, all around getting rid of Morocco from Iberia. Prepare for war, or this is not worth the risk. Again, if this is your first dev diary you've seen, that blue background text, that is the historical reasoning behind this event. So if there is an event in game that is based on history, you'll generally get that text with the blue background, and then the icon with the bookmark in it. That is the historical answer, like what happened historically in this event. So you can play through like historically, or you could do like an ahistorical, or maybe you're just not able to do the historical option, and you could say not worth the risk in this example, and not try fight Morocco at this exact time. Obviously, you can fight them later on as well, but this is like an event to prompt you to do that. The next event is all around commissioning a Chronicle of the King. The eventful reign of King Alfonso and his righteous fight against the Sunni presence in Iberia serves as the perfect example of a true Catholic ruler in this time. And you can say excellent, and you'll get a work of art based on him, or you can say dismiss him, get this guy out of here, Fernando. He's not going to write a chronicle about the king. I don't care about this too much. The next one, I'm not going to try pronounce. This is again all around the King Alfonso in this time. The legal traditions of the crown remain fragmented, with local customs, noble privileges, and older charters often conflicting with royal authority. And again, this is based on a historical thing that happened. Draft a new legal code. We will enact a policy in the legal code system. It will also change your societal value towards centralization rather than decentralization, because you're trying to centralize the power under the crown in the capital rather than having these other people kind of involved in the government as well. You can see that policy in the next screenshot. This is in the legal code law. So as we've seen previously, in that law, there'll be like 3 to 5 maybe policies that you can choose between, and this is one you will unlock with this event. Efficiency of our cabinet plus 10%, monthly progress towards centralization 0.10 as well, so again moving you to be more centralized. The next event is called the Regimento. The government of the towns and cities of the crown has already slowly slipped out of the control of the crown and firmly into the control of the caballeros that we talked about earlier. You could say we shall establish this new system, or you could say better not change the current system. If you choose that top option, you revoke that ability from the commoners, and we will grant Regimento to the nobles, and we will lose some stability. And that estate privilege for the nobles will give you stability decay 0.10% better, monthly progress towards aristocracy plus 0.10. So you revoke the previous estate privilege for the commoners that we saw earlier, and then you get this new one for the nobles, and they get empowered a little bit as well. The next event is the influence of the Mesta Council. The migratory sheep herds of Iberia have long had a strong impact on the Castilian economy for centuries. Officially organized in the Mesta Council, this association possesses significant power to petition the king to confirm and uphold their rights and privileges, and you can say excellent or refuse their petition. Really change how this works, and it does say this is a chain of events. So depending on what you pick here, different things will happen for Castile. And then if you do choose excellent, you can see here a wool modifier, nobles power plus 100%, clergy power plus 100%, food production minus 20. And this will cause all wool locations that we own in Iberia to receive this modifier permanently. We can't see what else it means. Maybe you can retract this later on, but that's kind of blocked so we can't see it. And then as you can see, this is the Mesta Council law. So similar to other ones, it does have other policies. You can see those lower down in this screenshot, but the currently active policy gives you maximum tax for the noble estate plus 10%, tax efficiency plus 2%, wool output plus 25%. A lot of wool output there. That's really going to help you with your economy and with some of your trading. But then as you can see, there are 2 different policies you can have for this. The one that is currently active, and then rights of possession. They don't show us what that one does. I guess it does something opposite of what the top one does. We'll find out, obviously, when we get to play it. The next thing they're going to talk about is the king, because this leads into the next event. You can see King Alfonso here, and they say he had a troublesome personal life, being engaged to his mistress, who gave birth to numerous sons, while only having one legitimate son with his rightful wife, Maria of Portugal, and that was the Crown Prince Pedro. And this might trigger a disaster when he dies. You can see that in the next screenshot, the Castilian Civil War. Although Alfonso has not been in power for some time, his legacy continues to live on. And again, this is around the fact he had so many illegitimate children. We will prevail, or Enrique shall rule over Castile instead. And this is one of his illegitimate children. You can actually choose to have him take over instead of who should have took over instead of him. If this does happen, you can get the Castilian Civil War, crown power minus 20%, estate satisfaction equilibrium minus 25%, monthly legitimacy though 0.25 better, monthly pretender rebel growth plus 1%, and then you will have this civil war happening. All the descendants, I guess, of Alfonso kind of fighting it out to see if they should take over instead of the rightful person who should have done. And then as I mentioned, they are going to show us some of the mid to late game events now. So this one here is all around the Spanish Inquisition. In recent times, a faction of the clergy led by Tomas has gained more and more power in the court, and this is all based around that. So you can say, give Tomas our support, He will move to the Crown of Castile. You will unlock the Spanish Inquisition policy. You will also enact this policy immediately, and the clergy will get some estate satisfaction around you as well. It would be fun to see what that policy does, but we'll find out again once we get to play it. The next event is an archive of the Crown. Many of the court have discussed ways to centralise and preserve the vital state documents and strengthen our administrative capacities and to ensure that the governance of the country is recorded. You can say this is a sound idea or this is not necessary. If you do choose to do this, you get this grand archive and you can see efficiency of the cabinet plus 5%, monthly progress towards centralisation 0.05, the effects on the location it's built on, which is generally going to be in the capital, I would think, cultural influence 0.5, monthly literacy 0.10% as well. It does have a lot of production methods, so you need all of these to make sure it runs efficiently. The next event is a new Spanish capital. The Crown of Castile is a realm composed of many former kingdoms, and this is all around building a new capital in Madrid. If you choose to do this, Madrid will become your capital. It also will become a town as well. The next event, the Palace of El Escorial. With the Crown architecture aspirations, the time has come to undertake one of our many monumental projects. Let the construction begin immediately, or such a project is too costly. If you do choose to build this, Crown Power plus 100%, Cultural Tradition 0.25, Monthly Prosperity 2.5% better as well. So I would build this if I have the money to. Definitely going to build this every time because that Crown Power is awesome to have. The final set of events they're going to show us around famous artists in Castile and if you want to hire them or not. The first one is Miguel de Cervantes, and after living the life of a soldier, he dedicated his life to literacy and obviously some famous books that he did write. And you can say here, brilliant. You get 5 prestige, and you also get his magnum opus, Don Quixote, and that will appear in Sevilla in this example. The next event is around Diego. I'm not going to butcher his last name. And he has received substantial recognition as a painter. And again, you can say good. You can say no, I don't have the money. I don't care about this guy, but this will cost you 74 gold. It will give you 10 prestige and you get a work of art from him if you do decide to pay this. The next one is Francisco Jose de Goya. He is a renowned painter, and again, you can pay for his services. You'll gain 10 legitimacy and you'll get a work of art that you can put in Toledo in this example. But with that, guys, that is the end of the Dev Diary this week. Again, just a slice of the content we're going to get as Castile. As I said, next week we're going to find out about the shipping side of things, and then we do know, as I've said all the way through this, we are getting a DLC around Castile in the first year of content for this game. Even though we've got that announcement, they are getting DLC. You can see already they have a lot of content at the start of the game. When this game comes out, there's a lot for you to do as Castile. It isn't just that they're left with nothing and then you have to buy the DLC. There is a lot of content here to keep you busy if you want to play as Castile or any of the other nations in Iberia as well. Looks like they've got a lot going on at the same time as this realm. But as I said, that is the end of the Dev Diary this week. They do say next week on Wednesday, we're going to find out about mid-game events in America. That is going to be the Treaty of Tordesillas and also the Great Pestilence, the thing that happens to the natives there when Europeans arrive. And then obviously the treaty there, very famous for the division of the New World. And then on Friday, we're going to get that Tinto talk about Portugal. As I said earlier, we're also going to get information around ships that you will find in Iberia. And I would imagine a lot of exploration things when they're talking about Portugal as well. And then also hopefully some content about what they're getting up to late game, maybe talking about Indonesia, all these different colonies and things they were getting up to in the Far East. Hopefully we get some information around that next week. But with that, we'll leave it there for today. So as always, hit that like button if you've enjoyed it. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I'm covering all the news around EU5. I've covered all the dev diaries they've had for over a year now. So if you are new to the game, if you've just heard about it and you want to get caught up with everything that's happened, there is a link in the description down below. You can see all my dev diary coverage. And I also cover Crusader Kings 3 in a very similar manner. So if you like Paradox games, you want to keep up to date with all the latest news, do subscribe to the channel. But we'll leave it there for today, and I'll see you all next time.